Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurureva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chinmayam Yapyat Sarvam Trilokyam Sacharacharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tvameva Mata Chapita Tvameva Tvameva bandhuscha sakha tvameva Tvameva vidya dravinam tvameva Tvameva sarvam mama deva deva Tvameva sarvam mama deva deva. Jai Guru. Yata sarvani bhutani pratibhanti stithani cha yatraivo pashamam yanti tasmai satyatmane namaha. So, one last thought responding to Nilang's thoughts, doubts, whatever they are. A book that helped me enormously. There's this little tome called The Spiritual Teachings of Ramana Maharshi, and it's conversations with him. It's got a foreword by Carl Jung. I think I loaned it to you at one point, didn't I?
I returned it. I think it should.
I think it's up there. If it's there, I'll loan it to you. But one of the questions that's asked Bhagawan, which of the 7 stages of knowledge does the jnani belong to? And it's the 7 stages of knowledge are taken from Yoga Vasishtha. Bhagawan's answer is the 4th. And if you go through that section on the 7 stages of knowledge, it's very clear, realization of the self. And then the disciple says, if that be so, why have 3 more superior to it been extolled by the scripture? And Bhagawan's answer is fascinating. He says, these are not states of bondage or liberation. They have to do with the experiences of the realized soul. And they are not to be achieved by mere will or effort. In fact, they are karmic. So we have great Mahatmas like Ramana Maharshi or the hugging Saint Amaji or Anandamayi Ma. Oh man, they were just out there. What's the difference between that and other knowers of Brahman who don't seem to have all this luminosity and constant experience of bliss? And he says, it's karmic. And if you're still making efforts trying to get those states, then you're not even a jnani yet. The mark of the jnani is they've quit making efforts. And I found this whole discussion incredibly useful. So after class, if you'd like to borrow the book,
That would be awesome.
You know what it looks like, so you can help me do it. And there's a lot of other really good discussions. But if you've got a copy of Yoga Vasishtha, go back and reread that section on the 7 stages of knowledge so you get the context of what the disciple is talking about. I found that very useful. Peace comes from the cessation of struggle. That's very simple. And if we're struggling for samadhis, this is why, Shankara will say in Vivekachudamani, strive hard for samadhi. And I say, you got to be careful because you make nirvikalpa samadhi another object of desire. What I like to say is, remember who you are. Seek sthita pragya, that I remember. When you ever not you, that's yourself. Self-realization gives us two very simple things. The first I call existential freedom. Nothing's going to harm you. You're always okay. Nothing touches you. And nothing really touches the people you love. Number two, I finally found out where happiness is. It's not in the world. The world is shunyata. It's neutral. It's not bad. It's just neutral. If I think a particular person, place, or thing or situation is joy-giving, I have attributed that to that based on the force of the past. It's so mechanical. So where is happiness? Happiness, good old Hanuman embracing Ram. It's the mind abiding in the self. How do you do that? Let go of the effing world. It's so simple. Now, synchronicity. So Shikadvaja is really working on that in our story. He's given up his vessels, he's given up his hut, he's given up his clothes, and now I'm going to give up my body. And Kuma keeps saying, it's not enough. What's left? Even jumping off a cliff isn't enough. So, what verse are we on tonight? What chapter?
Chapter 27, verse 20-21.
Did she say yet that what you have to renounce is the mind? Did we get that far?
We did, yeah.
Yes. And what does it mean to renounce the mind? Quit being concerned about stupid mind states. Don't believe our thoughts. All right, going on.
What was the verse number? 27?
No, 20-21.
Oh, 20.
It's on page
On page
285.
285.
Do you have enough light?
Yeah. Rajavacha aham dehadikam neti bahusha pravicharitam chittam rupam asyat yat bijam aham bhavatmakam hriti tattu vyaktam na shaknomi tyaktam upaiti mam mune yasmat na shaknomi tena tapye sudarunam. The king said, I am not the body and the like. Thus it was investigated by me repeatedly. But I am not able to give up that seed of the tree of mind which is of the nature of the sense of I in my heart. Given up repeatedly, it reaches me. Sage, since I am not able to renounce this sense of I suffer terribly.
Yes. So one of my favorites in Vivekachudamani 267, even after realization of the truth, there exists a strong impression that one is the doer and the enjoyer, which is the cause for rebirth. Exactly what Shikanpach is going. It has to be rooted out through steady and continuous identification with the self. Full stop. It is the annihilation of the vasanas here and now. It's considered liberation by the wise. How do we give up the residual roots of I-ness and minus? Let's see what happens. Going on.
Aham ityasya doshasya vedanam vaghnikaranam tatyathopasamam yati tatme vada munishvara. I know that not I know that knowing or perception is the cause of this defect or error in the form of the notion of I. Great sage, tell me how that sense of I ceases.
Okay, how do I get rid of it? So he's making reference to what the Buddhists call dependent origination. The sense of a phenomenal world, and I, the knower of that world as an individual, arise together. It's what in other scriptures is called karta, the doer, bhokta, the enjoyer, ahankara, the kind of thinking that manufactures a shadow self. The mumukshu is just another form of it. Going on.
Chita chet yonmukhatvena dukkhayayam aham sthitah chetyo pashamanam bruhi mune dukkho pashantaye. Due to pure consciousness, looking up to the known, or due to the objectification of pure consciousness, this notion of I brings sorrow. Sage, for the alleviation of sorrow, tell me of the cessation of the known.
So he's fine when he's in meditation. The mind thins out, the phenomenal world thins out, the personal sense of self thins out. But it comes back. My job, my puja. Am I advancing spiritually? I want this mind state. I don't want that. How do I finish it forever? Nirodha, cessation. Going on.
Kumbhavacha karanyosi me bruhi vedanasyapi karanam. Kumbha said, you are the knower of causes. Tell me the cause of even knowing.
So what is the cause of knowing? Let's see what Raja says. Going on.
Rajavacha shariradi tayo deti vedanam vastu sattaya. Knowing rises or appears by the existence of objects such as the body.
Let's see how she responds.
Interesting. The word Vedanam here is used as knowing.
Yes.
It's also a word in Buddhism which means sensation. Vedana.
Comes from the root vid, to know.
To know.
Yeah.
Kumbhavacha vidyate yadi dehadi vastu satta tada bhavet. Kumbha said, if the body and the like do exist, there can be the existence of objects.
So, just as in the dream state, who sees the dream world? I, the dreamer, do through the dream body. Oh, I dreamt I was riding a horse through a field. Who saw the field? I, dude. Who was riding the horse? Me. Seen, felt, smelt, etc. through the dream body. It arises with the perception of the world. It's very clear. because in deep sleep, you have no experience of a dream ego or of a dream world or of a body. Deep sleep, you can't even think, oh, I know nothing. You can only wake up and go, oh, I must have slept soundly. I don't remember knowing anything going on.
Rajavacha Sadanubhuyamannōyam Deho na vidyate katham. The king said, how is it you say that this body, being experienced always, does not exist?
Yeah. Now, we've been working on this idea in the Monday night class. Got a couple people who've had some Buddhist training. So in Buddhism, they will certainly talk about the impermanence of all phenomena, including the body. But in Vedanta, we talk about the fundamental mithya, illusory nature of all phenomena, gross and subtle, personal and cosmological. Dhamma Satyam Jagan. What is it? It doesn't say Satyam. Oh, Jagan Mithya. That doesn't mean it's not perceived, seen, but not real. Monday night, one of the students was talking about feelings. Well, does yoga suggest that I, suppress emotions? And I said, no. Emotions are the flower of the human personality. This work is for sensitive people. But we take our feeling nature to a higher level, where even things like death of a loved one can be incredibly beautiful. Going on.
Kumbhavacha akaranam hi yat vastu tat mithya rajju sarpavat. Kumbha said, for the object which seems to exist without cause is unreal as the snake that appears in a rope.
Yes. So there's adhyasa, superimposition. The rope is there, but I do not apprehend the rope. Then what happens? My mind hallucinates and I project a snake. Now, the snake has no cause. I didn't first hallucinate snake eggs, and then the serpent came out and then obscured the rope. It is causeless. In other parts of the scripture, once upon a time, there was a prince who was never born, and he rode to the castle in the sky and crossed over the moat that had no water to find the princess who was the child of a barren woman. These have no cause, they have no existence. They're just once upon a time stories. Imagination. Now, I'm not saying imagination isn't powerful. The news is filled with Jeffrey Epstein stories. But remember way back when QAnon was talking about the child pedophile ring that was being run out of the pizza parlor in Washington. Do you guys remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And this poor fellow He shows up at the pizza parlor with a rifle that Hillary Clinton was running it to save the children. But the pizza parlor didn't even have a basement. The whole thing was an imagination. But that doesn't mean it isn't powerful. Going on.
राजोवाच आद्य पितामहो ब्रह्मा जगत्कारणं न किम्. The king said, "Is not the first ancestor Brahma, the creator God, the cause of the world?"
Very good answer. So we have to understand that there's a relative reality to the things of this world. If I turn the light switch, the light goes on, cause and effect. But when I was a kid in like 7th or 8th grade, and we were learning about chemistry and physics, they were teaching us about atoms, and they looked like little solar systems. And you had the protons and the neutrons, and the electrons would orbit around them like a solar system. You're a scientist. That's all been, we don't think that anymore. Isn't that correct? That's correct. Yeah. And string theory, now all these, there's the probability of something being someplace. I don't understand it. It's far too complicated to me. But for a 7th or 8th grader, the solar system model, it worked back in the Jurassic period when I was in school. What's the one that Jack told us about? Spooky entanglement at a distance. Do any of you understand that? No. Again, you're a scientist. Do you understand it? No. You know what it is, though. Like electrons, which are entangled, and one is rotating one direction, the other will rotate the other direction, and they know it. And it's communicated instantaneously. It's faster than the speed of light. It's just mind-boggling.
As if they're coordinating.
Yes. And like they can be at different sides of the galaxy, and they instantly know it. So information traveling faster than the speed of light, instantaneously. Defies my understanding of physics. But the whole point I'm getting at is all of our descriptions of the material world are just theory. What the real cause and effect is, who can say? So here, the king is saying, well, scriptures say Brahma started it all. Let's see what Kumbha says. Going on.
Kumbhavacha Sargadau Kevalam Shantam Brahmaiva Vidyate Param Dviti Vakkalana Bhava Vedasosti na Karanam. Kumbha said, "At the beginning of creation, only Brahman, which is alone or absolute, tranquil, and supreme, exists. On account of the absence of assumption of a second in that supreme spirit, there is no cause for Brahma or the creator God."
Yes. So we make a distinction between Brahman, neuter noun, and Brahma, masculine noun. We can say other names for Brahma, Ishvara, the Lord, Prajapati, the ancestor of it all, the progenitor, I think, comes from the same word, same root. Hiranyagarbha, the golden egg out of which everything came. So what he's saying here is the Creator God also only has a relative reality. Now, Swamiji used to say, a personal God is as real as your ego. And he would say, if you stay identified with the body, with the ego sense, and then deny the existence of a personal God, then you're left with no help or support. If you have chitta shuddhi, purity of mind, and you drop the personal sense of self, then the personal God is dropped too. There's no creation that's ever taken place. Just like there's a God, Pratibimba. He lives in my bathroom. When I go into the bathroom, Pratibimba makes my face appear. Is there such a God?
No.
But it's the nature of the mirror to reflect. Does the mirror undergo a change? No. I can attribute the existence of my face in the mirror to the God Pratibimba. Going on.
Rajavacha yadhyaivam paramam brahma karanam veda sostihi karanam tasya nastiti katham pratyemi tat vada. The king said, if it is so, the supreme Brahman or ultimate reality is surely the cause of Brahma or the creator God. How do I believe or understand that there is no cause for him that is Brahma? Tell me that.
Good doubt. Let's see what she says.
Kumbhavacha advitiyam anadyantam shivam sanshantam avyayam tatkatham kasya kenaiva kartri bhoktri kada bhaved. Kumbha said, how, for whom, by whom, and when can that Supreme Spirit, which is without a second, without beginning and end, blessed, tranquil, and immutable, become the doer and enjoyer?
Yes. So it is a paradox. One etymology of Maya that I heard comes from Ma. Isn't that the word that means not? Yes. That which is comprised of not. It's a word to describe how the impossible appears to be possible. How is it that consciousness, which is kutastha, still an immovable one without a second, achalam, that never moves, seems to have an entire cosmos arise in it? And I love the example of the crystal ball. I bring out the crystal ball. It is spatika ghanam, a homogeneous mass of quartz, of crystal. Yet, if you look at it, you'll see images. Are the images created? Are they manifested? If I take a saw and cut open the crystal ball, I can't pull out the reflection. The spatika, the crystal, does not undergo a change at any time. Yet images appear in it. I love what Shankara says. We can't say that Maya exists. We can't say that it doesn't exist. But we can say that it is very powerful. So let's see what Kumbha says about it.
And Jim,
Yes, sir.
just a one thought. The power of Maya is not only to appear, but also make us forget what the truth is.
Yes, exactly. That's its nature. That's its nature. But you can cross over Maya. It is possible as an individual. What does it mean to see? Who am I? Aham Brahmasmi. What is this world? Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma. It too is nothing but Brahman. And it never leaves its swabhava. Nothing really moves. What about all these names and forms? How'd they get here? Sankalpena, by means of imagination. Well, who's imagining it? Nobody. Mystery. Let's see what Kulpa says.
Chinmatra kalpito vedha chideveti vinishchitah tanmatra janita sarga tadatmaka iti sthitihi ato nedam kritam kinchit tasmat na vidyate jagat. It is thus ascertained that Brahma, the creator God, who is formed or fashioned from pure consciousness alone, is also just pure consciousness. The creation which is produced only from that is of the nature of that. Thus is the position. Therefore, this objective universe has not been created even a little. On account of that, the world does not exist.
Yes. And by existing, we mean, is it solid? Is it separate? Is it concrete? To me, the easiest way to understand it is to go to the dream state. I like to say you are the God of your dream. The first thing that happens is you go to sleep. That's avarana shakti. That's the veiling power, the non-apprehension of myself as the waker. Then I'm in the unmanifest state of yaktaha. Then what does this non-dual mind do? It refracts into a dream world perceived by a dreamer, identified with a dream body, and having dream thoughts and feelings seemingly inside a dream mind within a mind. But it does not exist. It is not created. And in fact, there's no otherness. Listen carefully. Kumbha is not saying that your ego is dreaming all this. Be very careful about that. Going on.
Section 3. Shikidvaja Nishtha, the certain knowledge or fixity in meditation of Shikidvaja. Ityevam bodhito raja bhavayantat nirantaram swayamātmā pade tasmin kshanam parinato bhavat tato muhurtamatrena prabuddho punavabravit. The king, instructed in this manner, reflecting on it constantly, became transformed for a moment into that state of self spontaneously, then awakened in a period of just one muhurta or 48 minutes, he said again.
So, how does he end up being able to drop everything? The one thing to be renounced is my belief in any reality of any objective phenomena, including the mind. Only aham is real. The thought arises, it's unreal. Even that thought is unreal. So he reaches the state of unknowing. I love that phrase. He stays in that unknowing for a time. Now listen carefully. It doesn't have to be 48 minutes. The Master Jesus said, no preparation, no description afterward. In a moment when you take no thought. Swamiji used to say, when the last thought is thoughted, before the next thought starts thoughting. So Shikadvaja's mind returns from this. Let's see what happens.
Bhagavan tvatprasadena praptam atma padam maya satam viditavedhyanam sangha sarala phal pradaha idam mahamritam purvam katham nasaditam maya. Revered sage, by your favor, the state of the self or abidance in the self has been obtained by me. The association of good people who who have known what ought to be known, produces the highest reward. How is it that this great nectar or beatitude was not obtained by me earlier?
Yes, so again, echoing what the whole first third of Tripurara Hasim says. The root cause of liberation is association with the wise. Going on.
Kumbhavacha Manash Yupashamam Yate Tyakta Bhogai Shane Sthite Kashaya Pake Nirvritte Saphala Deshikoktayah Prabuddhosi Vibhuktosi Swarupe Tishtha Nirmalaha. Kumbha said, when the mind has become tranquil and has relinquished the desires for enjoyments, and when the burning of attachment to worldly objects is accomplished, the words of the spiritual teacher are fruitful. You are awakened, you are liberated. Be established in your essential nature, free from taint.
And let's review the three kinds of attachments. Dehavasana. wanting physical sensations, sex, food, rubbing. Lokavasana. Loka is world or people. This is where so many of us have attachments. I want approval. I want prestige. I want acknowledgement. I want FOMO, fear of missing out. I want fellowship, friends, etc. All those interpersonal things, they all have to go. That doesn't mean run away from the world. That means give up attachment. Body, mind, no intellect. Shastravasana. The exoteric meaning is unnecessary study of the scriptures. But the lakshanam, the implied meaning is, I want to figure it out. I want to understand it. I want to say, aha, now I have got it. The mumukshu is a form of that. And many of us can confuse paroksha jnanam, indirect knowledge. I've read all the scriptures and all the commentaries, and I've watched Punjaji on YouTube. But I love what Krishna says in second chapter of Gita. He who knows it. No. She who knows it not. Knows it. When the mind becomes stupefied. Going on.
Rajavacha Prabudhanam katham chittam viharanti katham chate. The king said, how is the mind of the awakened ones? That is, how is the mind of those who have realized the self function? And how do they move about?
Yeah. Verse 54, second chapter of Gita, same question. Going on.
Kumbhavacha punar janana yoganya yavasana dhanavasana saprokta chitta shabdena na sa tajyasya vidyate. Kumbha said, that mental impression or knowledge stored as memory, which is firmly or deeply impressed and which is able to cause rebirths, is described by the word chitta or mind stuff. It does not exist for one who knows that or herself.
Yes. So, with this description, the vasana, which has as its power non-apprehension of myself, and then the vikshepa shakti, I take the world as real. That does not exist for the jnani. It's gone. Without effort. Do not forget who they are. And they never take the world as real. Going on.
Atha chetasi tatvajña spanda spandau tvam ekadam nitvatishta yatha kamam egyamagatya shastvavam. Knower of reality, having led or reduced both movement and non-movement in your mind to oneness, You then remain at will, having arrived at eternal identity with the self.
So, because when the mind is thoughting and the body is moving, they're fundamentally absolutely inconsequential. I do not change or disappear. And when the mind is not moving in the deep meditation, I do not arrive. So the images that I like, you want to think of the bodies, the equipment, the body, the mind, and the intellect like a shadow. It follows me around, but I have no concern whether it's long or short. I don't weep because it's an overcast day and I don't have a shadow. I'm not filled with regret because my shadow fell in the gutter. See the equipment as a phantom, a dream-like appendage, largely moved about by the desires of others. Johnny has no investment in anything. What about justice in the world? What world? Well, the Bodhisattva vow, I vow not to enter nirvana till all sentient beings are enlightened, and the number of sentient beings are infinite. Oh, you see sentient beings? I see Brahman alone. Going on.
Rajovacha spandau ubhau chitte ekyam tu gacchata katham. The king said, how do movement and non-movement in the mind both reach oneness?
Yes. I like it when my mind isn't moving. I don't like it when my mind is. How can they reach oneness? Let's see what Kumbha says. I love the synchronicity. It's absolutely addressing many of the doubts you were expressing. Isn't this wonderful? God's really smart, even though she doesn't exist. Going on.
Kumbhavacha sarga chittaspandamattratma samyak drishta vidiyate. Kumbha said, the creation or the world is only of the nature of the movement of pure consciousness. It vanishes on the arrival of right perception or right knowledge.
So the word here is spanda, which I've usually translated as vibration. Now, the tantrikas will posit that consciousness itself vibrates, and that's how the world comes into being. The Vedantins say nothing really moves. It just appears to move. If I'm driving down Highway 5 and I see the mirage, and as I drive closer, the mirage moves further south, is the mirage really moving? No. Whether you think the world is vibrating or you think it's kutastha, in the end, the idea here is it's all God. It's all going to be okay. It's actually all unfolding just as it's supposed to. Going on.
Shastra Sajjana Sarpak Santatabhyasa Yogataha Chetasya Maratam Yate Jayate Swayameva Sa Tvaya Sadaiva Sanrakshya Drishti Esha Hi Pavani. That right perception or knowledge is born spontaneously when the mind becomes stainless as a result of association with the scriptures and virtuous people and constant practice of spiritual disciplines. This holy knowledge should indeed be protected by you constantly.
Yes. Ooh, interesting. So, again, going back to the metaphor that I use in the art of meditation class, slicing a tomato. So, all our spiritual practices are knife sharpening. We're sharpening the wonder sword of knowledge. Do not confuse knife sharpening with slicing. Slicing is vichara, investigation. Investigation is only fruitful with a pure mind, a sattvic mind, chitta shuddhi. So it's not either or, it's first then. The mode of purification is given to us in the scripture and by the teacher. Why is this important? I've again said this so many times. It doesn't happen much anymore, but in old-timey days, people used to say, "Oh, Jim, why do you teach from these dusty scriptures? Just speak from your heart." And one of the reasons I don't do that is because I want you to have faith in the knowledge that you get here is the real McCoy. I'm not making up my own yoga here. Why should I? Because it's incredibly powerful. It is a pramana. It's a valid means of knowledge. That's good stuff. It works. And the tradition should be protected. At the end of Taittiriya Upanishad, there's that mantra that's repeated over and over again, Swadhyaya Pravachanecha. Continue your own self-study and instruct one another. Pravachana in this. I can remember when Swamiji died and Tejo was chosen to be the new head of the Chinmaya mission. Somebody, God bless Tejo, what he had to put up with. Do you think you're able to fulfill Swamiji's shoes? Are you ready to lead the mission? And Tejo said, if I'm not ready, I will be made ready. And I'm not trying to fulfill Swamiji's shoes. I'm pranaming at his sandals. Yeah. But I think if any of you have tried to explain your experience, what this work has given you to another, who's had the experience you just get tongue-tied and you can't really explain it clearly? Who's had that feeling? This is where study of the scriptures can be of great value. Study them as pedagogy. It'll teach you how to share this with others. All right, going on.
एवमुक्त्वा गते कुम्भे परं विस्मयमागतः अहो नु शीतला शुद्धा शान्तेयं पदवी निजा एवं सञ्चित्य राजासौ निर्विकल्पे निराश्रये प्रतिष्ठां निश्चला प्राप्य सन्तस्थौ गिरिशृङ्गवत्. When Kumbha was gone, having told thus, that king fell into great astonishment. He thought thus, Ah, one's own abode for the self is indeed cool, pure, and tranquil. Thus having thought, the king, attaining to immovable residence in the unconditioned and supportless abode of the self, remained like the summit of the mountain.
So the word that he's used here is nirvikalpa. Always we describe this in two ways. Nirvikalpa samadhi is a mind state of no mind. There are all sorts of samadhis. Savikalpa samadhi, when the mind is tuned up and quiescent, keeping everything introverted, where we're at the doorway of the infinite. When the last vasana is burned out, the mind will slip into nirvikalpa samadhi. The personal sense of self is gone. And when the mind returns, the jnani moves in the world with sahaja samadhi, natural or continuous samadhi, meaning you never forget who you are. You don't take the world as real. The other meaning of nirvikalpa. Nirvikalpa is defined in the scriptures as when the triple factor of knower, knowing, and known is merged into one. When the mind is gone, that triple factor disappears, just like it does in deep sleep. But how do you know you are you? You do not see, hear, taste, touch, smell, emote, or think yourself. Yet you know you are. Who knows it? I do. What's the pramana, the means of knowledge? I don't know. The self is its own means of knowledge. The self knows itself. It is Swayambhu, Swayam Jyoti. What is that which is known? Not as an object. Nobody doubts their existence. Oh, knower, knowing, and known are merged. It's another name for the self. This is why in Shankara's very famous hymn, Nirvana Shatakam, the line goes, Aham nirvikalpo, does not mean I'm in nirvikalpa or I have achieved nirvikalpa. What does it mean?
I am.
I am without any perturbation of any kind. All right, going on.
Section 4. Shigitvaja Prabodhanam. The awakening of Shigitvaja. Chudala tu param gatva vyomna tatra dinatrayam nirvritya rajyakaryani jagatya kumbharupini nirvikalpa samadhistam rupam sprishtva vachintayat astyeva sattva sheshosya tridi sambodha karanam. Chudala, on the other hand, going to the city through the sky, performing the duties of the government for 3 days there, and returning in the form of Kumbha, having touched the king who was absorbed in undifferentiated consciousness or in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, thought as follows. Surely there is the residue of sense consciousness in his heart, sufficient to be the cause of his becoming fully awake.
So, some Mahatmas, when they enter into Nirvikalpa Samadhi, their minds never emerge again. And in time, the body just falls down. Other Mahatmas, they enter into Nirvikalpa Samadhi, and there's a residual of prarabdha. And the mind emerges and activity begins again. So Chudala senses that that's the state of Shikadvaja. So let's see what happens.
Sri Rama Vacha Prisham Prashantachittasya Kashtalokshta Samasthite Satveshe Katham Brahman Nyayate Dhyana Shalinaha. Sri Rama said, Sage, how is the residue of sense consciousness known in one whose mind is very much calmed or whose mind is completely seized, who is in a state of equal to a log of wood or a lump of earth, and who is endowed with meditation or of the Supreme Spirit?
So is there a way to tell if there's a residual of sense impression? And we have all these stories of such and such a stage was in Nirvikalpa Samadhi for 12 years and things like that. Will they ever emerge again? We'll see what happens. Going on.
Vasishtha Vacha Prabodha Karanam Jnasya Durlakshnya Vapu Hridi Vidyate Satvasheshonta Bija Pushpa Phalam Yatha. Vasishtha said, the cause of awaking or coming back to sense consciousness of a man of knowledge or spiritual realization is the fact that within his heart there exists the residue of sense consciousness, having an imperceptible and subtle form, just as flower and fruit exist within a seed.
Yeah, so it's the scriptures will call it prarabdha for the saint, for the man or a woman of knowledge, but their activity in the world is different. The ordinary person is driven by likes and dislikes. The jnani doesn't give a shit, has no likes and dislikes that are driving their behavior anymore. Yet they're seen to do this and not do that. I can remember I was working with a fellow, this is years ago, it has to be 7 or 8 years ago. He was sitting in that chair and I was sitting where sound is. And I said something and he happened to be a psychotherapist. So he says, Jim, why did you say that? Trying to get this one's mind to turn back into self-observation. And my only response is, I don't know. Well, don't you want to look at why you responded that way? Not particularly. It's gone. It's gone. Why do you do this? I don't know. I can make up a reason if you want. The equipment will do what it does based on the force of its past and essentially the desires of other people. And it doesn't mean anything. It's not personal anymore. My favorite image is an old-timey pinball machine. Do they even make those anymore?
You just
You
find
ever
them in-
play them?
Yeah, you find them in like some bars and things like that.
So, you go, and the ball bearing goes out. So that's the equipment of the person of realization. And God is working the paddles. Ka-chung, 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 and ka-chung, 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 and it comes down, and then whack, ka-chung, ka-chung, ka-chung. Then at some point it goes into the gutter, game over, and you're dead. That's so different than a person who has a business plan for life. Now, that may be your prarabdha. If when you were younger you made a business plan for life, well, okay, yeah. But none of it matters. Be careful. This is not a license for bad behavior. Some people skip the intense sannyasa and take on this just being blown by the wind, and they confuse license with liberty. What in fact is happening, they're at the effects of the indulgent part of the mind, the raga and the dvesha, and they think that's going with the flow. The precondition is mahatyaga, supreme abandonment of everything. Any thoughts on this? Next verse.
चित्तस्पन्द वियुक्तस्य तस्याचल समस्थिते काय समा भोगो न ग्लायति न हृष्यति. The body of one who is free from the movement of the mind and who is in an immovable and even state is indifferent to great enjoyments. It does not exalt nor is it weary.
Yes. Now, one of the things that begins to happen, the emptier we become as yogis, the more we feel the thoughts and feelings of others as if they were our own. You're riding on the bus and all of a sudden you're hating your wife and you aren't even married. You can't tell. And we deal with it the same way. It's unreal. So whether it's a thought that comes from the environment or a thought that comes from one's own karmic stream, in the end, it doesn't matter. Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. Don't believe the mind. All right, how many more in this section? It's 9 o'clock.
There's a few more.
Okay, we'll quit here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Sri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om.